What's going on, guys? Crucible here. We're going to be breaking down the brand new Sparking Purple Whis, as well as discussing his brand new mechanic that just released. Obscure, I believe, is what it's called. We're going to talk about my personal thoughts on what I feel is appropriate for this particular new mechanic, how well it's going to affect the meta, and maybe some key strategies in a way that can kind of counteract it. But if you guys want to see more singled out breakdowns of character kits, let me know down in the comments below. I've been thinking about it, and it might be a little bit easier to digest for you guys if I do individual characters as opposed to just doing a big breakdown video for all the other characters. But yeah, I figured try something new. Let me know in the comments below if it's something you'd like to see. But yeah, let's talk about this Whis. So, Purple Sparking Whis. He finally gets a Sparking characters. Like Vados got a Sparking character well before this Whis did. Which is a little bit funny to me. But yeah, in terms of stats, stats are a little lackluster, but he's obviously a support type, and support types generally don't get the best stats. So kind of got to work with what you got in this particular instance. But I mean, almost 2.5 million health is not bad. 231, 241 attack respectively, and about 163 for both defenses. The defenses aren't too bad. Definitely could be better, but yeah, again, it's a support type. Can't really expect much. Main ability is Divine Instruction. Restores ally health by 20%. Shortens ally sub count by 3. Applies buff effects. Nullifies attribute downgrades up to 3 times to allies. Inflicts all enemies with minus 50% health restoration for 30. And plus 5 to strike and blast arts cost for 15. This is a very, very good support ability or main ability for a support character. Obviously, anytime that allies gets health, or they get, you know, buffs like this that allow them to not get debuffs is really great. And you got some minor disruption here. 30 counts is, like, pretty good in all things considered. Like, 30 counts, and I mean, health restoration can be pretty disruptive too. So, yeah, not a bad main ability for a support character. Pretty good. All right, first unique ability. His first passive is Transcendent Technique. The following effects occur when battle starts. Increases his own arts card draw speed by 1. Can't be canceled. That's really good. Applies the buff effect. Nullify enemy special actions that activate when changing cover. To self for 60 counts. That's a lot. That's high. That's really up there. So basically, I believe, like, if like Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta were to pop into the field, he can't, you don't get his cover change effect for 60 counts. That's pretty detrimental, honestly. I mean, talk about disruption at its max, man. That's nuts. And then all allies also gain 20% damage, which is not cancelable either. So that's really good. When this character enters the battlefield, he gets 80% of damage inflicted. Reduces damage received by 40, and then minus 5 to strike and blast for 15 counts. So these can't be stacked, but this can. So essentially, if you can get this guy switched in fast enough, you could potentially get up to minus 15 to your strike and blast arts, which isn't too bad. Now, obviously, that might only work for a little bit. You might get like 3 seconds worth of like minus 15, but I mean, minus 10 is still pretty feasible. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, this stuff is cancelable, but I mean, you're getting 80% attack there. That's crazy. All right, second ability, Angel's Blessing. Applies the following effects to allies when he switched to standby. So your allies get 25 ki. They gain 15% of damage inflicted, and then 50% to ki recovery. This is actually pretty good. 50% ki recovery. In today's meta, like, you kind of want, in today's meta, it's either card draw speed or you want ki recovery to be able to do the combos you want to be able to set up. So this is actually really, really good. I wouldn't underlook this particular ability, in my opinion. But yeah, that's not bad. 25 ki for allies. They gain 15% extra damage on top of the 20 that they're already getting here at the start of battle. So it's 35% right off the bat, which is pretty crazy. Applies the following effects to self to enemy every time when faced with an enemy. So reduce key by 25, and then you lower their card draw speed by 15. That's pretty good. If your opponent is very adamant on switching characters constantly, like this is pretty disruptive. That's gonna hurt them quite a bit. And then he also restores his own Vanish gauge by 50% when enemy switches characters when he's on the battlefield, up to 5 times. That's pretty good. We haven't even gotten to his brand new mechanic yet, but just off of this particular ability, this is probably the best support character in the game, in my opinion. And that's saying a lot, because support characters genuinely are not all that great usually. They offer a lot of support, but in terms of sticking around for the meta, or within today's meta, it's really hard for support units to stay, you know, pretty active. So yeah, I mean, this is really good. Whis is actually pretty great. Alright, so strikes don't do anything, blast doesn't do anything. An Angel's Touch deals massive impact damage, reduces enemy key by 70 on hit, and he has blast armor. That's not bad. That's not bad. And now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. So, applies the following effects to self upon activation. You gain 10 health and you get 20% of damage inflicted for 15 counts. That's alright. This is what we're here for. So, applies the following effects to enemy on hit. So, obscures all cards for 10 counts. All cards are turned face down for the effect duration, and their positions are shuffled. So, this is... So my initial thoughts, if you guys follow me on the community Discord, my initial thoughts on this was that this is going to be very disruptive. And depending on how long that this effect went on for, could very well be a very toxic ability in this game. And I commend Legends for actually putting the time and effort into coming up with new tactics like this. But this is crazy. This is nuts. So basically, you're basically inflicting blind on your cards, on your opponent's cards. So your opponent's not going to be able to see what cards they have in their hand. On top of the fact that your cards are shuffled then too. So they're basically flipped upside down, and they're shuffled amongst. So you're not going to know what cards you're playing. So the opponent needs to keep track of what cards are in their hand, as well as keeping in mind that you need to come out a way to get around this. And then on top of that, plus 10 to strike arts cost for 15 counts too. That's crazy. And blast armor. So yeah, I'll talk about this more in a second. We'll go into some strategies and kind of talk about more about obscure, but that's pretty crazy. And then he obviously is plus 3% to special move damage inflicted by God Key, and then 35% to strike and blast defense for God Key. I'm gonna say it. This Whis may be the best support unit in the game right now. By a country mile, he is the best support character in the game. Yeah, I like the way this Whis is built. Now, in terms of what this guy is, obviously he's only Angel and God Key, and he's part of the Resurrection F saga. So, really the only team you can run this guy on is God Key, and unfortunately, I mean, you can run this guy. I wouldn't be opposed to you switching out this Super Saiyan, the Goku and Vegeta, or this Vegito. You could probably replace him with. You could replace this guy with Rose. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to anybody replacing any of their purples on their team with this Whis, because the amount of utility that this guy offers to your team, as well as the disruption he offers, it's pretty significant. In terms of his combat prowess, I don't think he's going to be doing too much damage, but the amount of support that you will be getting with this guy, like, I think he warrants a place here. So, again, I don't think he necessarily replaces anybody here, but if you wanted to incorporate this guy on your main team, like, I wouldn't be opposed to you doing so. So, yeah, really, really cool unit, really well designed, in my opinion. And, yeah, so in terms of his obscure ability, though, yeah, there's not really much you could do in terms of counteracting this. Because obviously you're not going to, unless you know, you got to keep track of what cards you have in your hand at the time that this activates. But that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things due to the fact that it's all shuffled too. So you can sit there willy-nilly just clicking on cards, hoping that you pick the right card. And hoping to God that it's not a strike, which is going to be very disruptive. But the only other thing that you can really kind of do is, obviously, if you got Rising Rush, you can plan out your switches. You can plan out your switches to a degree, and work your vanishes for the 10 timer counts, hoping to God that you don't get hit by another green card. Because that's the other thing too, is that from what this looks like, there's no limit. There's no limit to this either. There's no limit to how many times this can activate, which I was kind of hoping that they would do. I was kind of hoping that this would be like, okay, it only works like 2-3 times. Because then it wouldn't be as toxic. But the fact that this can happen infinitely, and the fact that he holds a green card, it's a little scary. It's a little scary. And then you take into account that if you run this guy with the Kaioken Goku, who also is very green card dependent and can draw a lot of green cards, yeah, very, very scary stuff. The only thing that you could really do to kind of counteract this effect is, again, like you could sit there and try and stall out the 10 timer counts. Time your switches really well, time your vanishes really well, Rising Rush to get some damage in if you need to get the damage in. But the only other thing you could really do would be to completely destroy your hand or reset your hand. So like God Topo, right? You got God Topo, who on his main ability is able to destroys all the arts cards that you have in your hand. And he gains a buff depending on how many cards you destroy. So you could do something like this, where you can bring Topo out, and destroy all your cards, and it does that. The other thing you can kind of do, is like card refresh. You got like this Android 18 here. This Android 18, let me see here. Where was it? I'm pretty sure this is it, right? It was green card that did it? Yeah, so on green card, you destroy all your own cards, and then you randomly draw 4 new ones. So any kind of hand destruction is going to be very beneficial against this ability. And especially if you have a character that does this, where you basically draw new cards into your hand to kind of get yourself set up again. That's only to say that, because this says obscures all cards for 10 counts. So for all we know, we'll have to see how this is in practice. But we don't necessarily know if cards that you draw to your hand don't also get shuffled into that mix. Obviously, like if you have a character that can draw that brings an ultimate card into their hand, you know how sometimes when you have a full hand, you can get a 5th card procced into the side, and it's in the background, and it doesn't go into your hand until you actually remove a card from your hand. What you could do is, hopefully this doesn't affect that card too, but you know what's coming in that regard. You guys get what I'm saying. I'm kind of just rambling there, but let's hope to God that this doesn't also activate on cards that you draw into your hand too, because if so, that's going to be very, very disruptive and very toxic. So yeah, that's the new Whis. That's the new that is the new obscure feature. We shall have to see what it looks like in practice and in PvP. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this ends up working out. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Again, let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see some singled out breakdowns for characters, as opposed to like a big video and update. Because I figured it'll be easier for you guys to digest, as well as it'll help me be able to put out more content more regularly on the channel, because I can kind of spread out the information. But yeah, let me know. And I will be recording the Golden Frieza, the Angel Golden Frieza, directly after this video, and should be up before our summon video tomorrow. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this Whis and this new ability, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace, guys.